Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for the first half hour. I am so excited. We're talking about campaign finance reform today because we actually, first of all, I'm excited that we have a guest. We generally, and you've sat with us for a half hour, Dave. You know how this has gone. At least you have a little bit of a sample size. When Doc and I get so excited that when we have a guest, we're basically like dogs who are unsocialized around people, and so we get so excited. We ask a whole bunch of questions. Then we start, but then we get a little bit used to it, and we start forgetting that you're here and start bickering back and forth because that's pretty much
that's what we do.
So nobody except politicians that we're friends with on a personal level ever come back on the show, which is fine. Super friend of the show, Brad Zahn. We love you, and we hope
super friend
Tom Shaw.
Tom
yeah,
Shaw.
We miss you guys.
And really good friend Sam Clovis.
Yep. Yes. So
and want to be friend. Please come on, Governor Bradstead.
Oh, potential prospective friend.
Prospective.
So I was thinking through Doc's point about limiting spending, and it seems I like the idea in principle, but if we don't have a contribution cap, which makes these rich guys accountable for what they're actually doing, which we can't now ostensibly under Citizens United, then what happens when when Adelson or a Soros or whoever just gives $500 million, we'll take his $100 million cap, for example, $500 million, he can only spend $100 million of it. There's $400 million just sitting there. I mean, that seems like the hot little hand of corruption just waiting to grab that money and do something with it. I mean, what do you think about that idea if we have unlimited contributions but limited spending?
It presents some difficulties, I would think, on the backside, just because potentially you would have excess money. You'd have leftover money that somebody have to figure out what to do with. Now, that could go into a general fund, perhaps, that is used to pay for, like the tax checkoff that still exists but no one uses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It could be used to fund that sort of a thing, or it could just be turned back into the Treasury and used for general funds or something too. I suppose.
That make conservatives crazy.
Yeah, that would limit contributions probably right there. Right?
You got to watch your finger because you just about poked them in the eye.
Sorry about that. No, you just made me think of something. What if all campaign contributions? What if we didn't limit campaign contributions themselves, but you limited to who they went to? And so there's a public campaign fund.
Well, I could right now. I'm going to stop you there. Here's what the problem with that is. All that's going to do
everybody
is
throws money in the same pot.
Everybody throws money in the same pot. All you're going to do is make sure nobody gets voted out of office. Right now, we have the ability occasionally to vote somebody out of office. That would completely eliminate that.
Well, are you saying that because of who it's managed by? Like who would manage the fund? You could have somebody independent managing the fund, and so your republic, your corporate leaders, your union guys, everybody that wants to give money to candidates, and it wouldn't necessarily. And we could make a system where there's a primary and a caucus like tier, and then the general election, whatever it happens to be, and everybody throws money, and then especially in the general, because I'm conceiving of that, it's a little more easy with two people running. Split it directly in half. And no one knows necessarily where the money comes from. No one knows that this dollar that I'm spending today came from the Koch brothers, or this dollar over here came from the AFL-CIO. It's all the same money.
Yeah, I could see that, and that might work. I'd have to think about that concept a little bit.
That just off the dome, man.
Yeah, well, and it's still covered up. So you need to be happy with that.
I know.
So. Well, my thing with this, especially the way with some of these states have it set up, is you get a front runner out there, and because there were several times when Joni Ernst wasn't the front runner when it was Sam Clovis, and if what would have happened if suddenly Sam was able to double his money, triple his money? What would have happened if Brad Zahn led all the way? That would have been a different result for him had he been able to double his money there at the end. And what if David Young had led the parade in the 3rd District with all the money he was able to raise, and suddenly he got to triple that, double that. Suddenly there's no more contest. Suddenly there's no real will of the people. That's the problem I see with the way the states have it set up. I mean, do you agree or disagree with that?
Potentially. And, you
potentially agree or disagree?
No, I mean, I've seen, it does happen sometimes. And it can throw things off in a way. Now, I have yet to see even remotely anything that resembles I can't even say a perfect system, but even just a really workable system that's come out. They're typically very top heavy with rules and regulations, and if this, then that, except on Tuesday when it's raining, then you get this much, and very complex. And the further we go along, it seems as though the more reform that's wanted is just simply tinkering with the reform that already exists and trying to make it work again. And they found workarounds for it, so now we got to close the workarounds, and then they find other workarounds.
Yeah, but that's typical of
the tax code, and it just becomes bigger and bigger and more complex, and never really addresses the true problem and the true issue, which is that money, like the Bible says, is the root of all evil. And you can't you can't just make this stuff free. People have to pay for printing. People have to pay for expenses, and staff needs to get paid. The world revolves around money. So that makes it very difficult to find a workable thing, a workable system. Then you combine that with people that are running for office that are very ambitious and very competitive, and in many cases, sort of willing to do most anything in order to gain and keep their power.
Well, don't you think, what about this? Don't you think term limits would be a much more effective way to limit that kind of crap than it would in campaign finance reform?
In one sense, I guess in a theoretical sense it would, but then with term limits you have other issues that you need to kind of think of where, many times you'd have to be careful about what the term was, because, if you wouldn't just want to make, for instance, the House of Representatives, some people have said you just one term and you're out, 2 terms and you're out. That's sounds good, but on the other hand, if you understand how legislation works, the process works, it's a very slow motion kind of a process. So some things take years. And in the Senate even more so, they're the deliberative body, so they purposely take longer on many things. It can take 10, 15 years for Harkin's American Disabilities Act to get passed. That took forever, it seemed like. That took many years. And
well, we're going to be back with David Rogers. He's the Iowa Director of Democracy Matters, a campaign finance reform outfit. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Bertrosian Associates, Levinas Law Firm, Halo Capital at Des Moines Interest Rates, Des Moines Anesthesia PC. They do anesthesia and pain management. They have offices in Fort Dodge and Des Moines. Their number is 515-574-6442. Please follow us at on Facebook and Twitter, and check us out on docandlefty.com. We'll be back right after this break.